Well, hey there, Bucket Pond family. I wanted to do a collection trip today for this episode of Eco Sundays. Unfortunately, the weather was not cooperating, so instead we are in the fish room today, and we're going to build a nice jar aquarium. It's going to be a lot of fun. Specifically, I am building a new tank for some very old snails, or an old bloodline. I'll tell you more about it as we go. But we're starting with a 1 gallon jar. This is a recycled pickle jar that I've been using for about 5 years. And for substrate, all I'm going to use is a few pieces of quartz. I believe that is quartz. But I'm also going to include a scallop shell. And that's because my projects, quite literally, consume seashells. They eat the shells over time. And not just the snails rasping and chewing on the seashells, but the tank itself, the water, consumes my shells. Yeah. I use seashells to balance my pH. I don't recommend that you do this at home. I'm kind of weird, but it seems to be working, so that's what we're going to do. I've been doing this in many of my projects this year. So that seashell will slowly dissolve. Our snails will chew on it. It'll add calcium to the aquarium. It's very important. Now I'm going to include some DIY driftwood here. Now this is a tree branch that was originally in the moss tree nano aquarium that I built over a year ago. I'll include a link in the description if you want to check out that video. Unfortunately, that tank was besieged by fly moths or drain flies, the most evil life form that has come to dwell in our jar aquariums. And when those guys get into a project, they cause it to crash. They seem to eat everything. It's pretty horrific. So I don't like them. But we're going to take that old moss tree aquarium and we're going to rebuild it, at least in a few ways here. And we're going to put the snails that currently live in that jar into this new project. So right off the bat here, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. I like the minimalistic approach of just a few stones and a little wood. We're also going to include some microfauna and bacteria from my guppy tank, which you saw in that previous clip. It's very healthy, and I hope to bring that over here. I'm also going to add just a little pinch of fish flakes. Now, there are no pets in here yet. There may be a few stray microfauna, some copepods or something. But mainly this is for the bacteria. I want this to break down and to start the cycle in here. I want to grow biofilm on all the surfaces. So I will be using a lid for this project, and of course it's a coconut. That's the best, most natural lid that I've found. And worst case scenario, it might get kind of wet, but it'll be fine. For plants, I'm going to use this stem of spiderwort. I believe this is small leaf spiderwort, and I took it from that Hidden Creek collection video we did recently as part of the Eco Sunday series. And it's a little beat up, that's fine. And I'm also going to include some pothos. Now, my main objective with these two plants is to get the spiderwort to release rooting hormone, which will encourage the pothos to grow roots a little bit more quickly. I don't know if this would work. I don't know if it's possible, but I have used a different species of spiderwort to accelerate root growth in other plants in the past. So we'll try that again here. Now with the lid, the jar is pretty dark, and we'll have to use our flashlight a little bit. But you can see a ton of small particles in here, and that's mostly from the stuff that I injected. That's not paramecium. I do have a little hole in my glove. You'll have to pretend you don't see that. So the spiderwort is okay. It's looking a little rough, and the pothos looks great though. But I see this all the time when I grow spiderwort in a jar aquarium. It starts out really nice, and it grows really long, and it looks pretty good, but it has a wilting issue. There's some burn on the leaves, and I think it might be a transpiration issue. Did I say that right? I think I need to increase the air movement in the fish room. I need a fan or something. But the main purpose of that spiderwort is the root growth. Look at this. That tank has not been running that long. You can check my channel to see the dates of when it was set up and what it looked like originally. And here it is now with crazy root growth. It's massive. So I'm hoping that our new cutting of spiderwort will do that same thing here. I'm hoping that it will grow a ton of roots, help to, clean the water, and also to hopefully release rooting hormone, which will affect the pothos. Every project I do is a multi-layered experiment. So day 3, and we have some root growth on the spiderwort. That's great. The tank looks really cool with our flashlight. I would like to have lights that could do this all the time, but really it doesn't hurt the tank to be kind of dark, as that light is mostly for us to see what's going on inside. The plants themselves get plenty of light, and as you can tell by my green aquariums scattered around the fish room, my plant lights are very effective. So we are going to add an air stone in here for circulation and oxygen, or aeration, I should say. I'm using an old kit from a Chinese air pump that we got, and it has some silicone-based tubing. This stuff is crap. Do not use it for your air stones, but you can use this for water changes. That silicone tubing is pretty good for water changes on a nano tank. But I'm going to reuse an old piece of aquarium tubing here, actual aquarium tubing. It's a lot more durable, and it's just a better quality. And I'm going to restrict airflow into the aquarium. I don't have any fancy little gadgets or anything. I'm just going to use a piece of wire, and I'm just going to crimp it on there to get the desired airflow that I want. And there we go. That's perfect. Right now, all of my jar aquariums are running off of one air pump, which is a extremely high quality air pump. I might have to show you guys that product. But here's the tank, and I am going to put a rubber band on here just to hold that airline in place, as sometimes they like to kind of fall, and I'll come back into the fish room and the airlines will be all pulled up and the air stone will be sticking out above the water. It's a big old thing. So here we are on day 5, and the aquarium looks really good. I am really happy with this. I wish I could build all of them to stay so clean for so long. I don't struggle with longevity in my projects, but I do struggle with cleanliness. Yes, my tanks get very green or sometimes kind of dark, like black water, and I'm okay with that. But when I'm showing you guys these projects, I kind of want them to look good, you know. For me personally, I don't mind too much. I love green water, but I want to show you guys. I want you to see what's going on inside. So here on the driftwood, we have grown some interesting fungus, I believe, and I think the bladder snails might eat that if we're lucky. I would love to get a clip of them eating it once I put them into the tank. But I have a problem, you guys. There is water on my shelf, and it seems to be coming from our new aquarium. In fact, there seems to be a crack running all along the bottom of the jar. That is heartbreaking. Every one of these jars is very important to me. It might not seem like much, but a $10 investment is a lot. uh, yeah, and I've had this jar for like 5 or 6 years, so seeing it broken like this is not great, especially when we're building a whole new world inside. So it is slowly leaking water. It's not going to cut me or anything, but it's not going to hold water anymore. So we're going to have to replace it. I'm going to clean out this jar and rebuild the current project right here in this new jar. This jar has been running for several years. I don't show it on camera. It's not meant for viewing. This is just a place to grow spike rush and watermeal and a bunch of emergent plants like grow a climbing spiderwort or a climbing dayflower, Wedelia, and alligator weed. So I want to show you what several years of plant growth looks like in one of my gallon jar aquariums. This is with me continuously cutting plants that grow up out of the tank, cutting them and putting them elsewhere. Yes, look at this, you guys. The sheer biomass of plant material in here is crazy. We do have a little brown, a little wilting here and there, mainly from when I cut stems. Sometimes the plants just abandon that stem and try to grow again elsewhere. We also have a ton of spike rush in here. The spike rush is the filter, and this place was basically a farm for growing above water plants like Wedelia and dayflower. There is a specimen cup in there. You guys weren't meant to see that. So here we are. This is what I've collected from that old 1-gallon jar aquarium. That's a very interesting mix of plant matter. Probably likely some drain flies in there and some other things as well. That's one reason I needed to reset this jar also. So we've done that. I'm going to remove that rubber band. Again, it was just there to hold that airline in place so that it didn't move around in the aquarium. We're going to carefully remove our lid. I didn't mention it, but coconuts do have holes naturally drilled in them, and those holes are perfect for a couple plant stems and an airline. I've been looking for a lid design for my projects for a long time, something that would allow a little airflow while also preventing the evil drain flies from getting into my aquariums. I've tried a whole bunch of different types of lids. I don't want to buy anything that's really expensive. I'm not spending $30 per jar just to have a lid with a light in it. Um, yeah, I'm not doing that. I need my money. I'm hungry, you guys. So instead, we're going to use a coconut. Yeah, that's a perfect bucket pond solution. It was grown from the earth. Um, if those coconuts do get wet, they might maybe show some fungal growth or something, but I haven't seen anything like that yet. So I am using everything that was in the leaking jar, the stones, the wood, the seashell, everything right out of that jar into our new build here. And even the same water, though I did add a little fresh water to make up for the leakage. I'm just going to drop everything back in here. The arrangement might look a little different based on where the plant roots are going and the air stone and stuff and that driftwood, but I think it'll be fine. I'm not too worried about it, you guys. We did, the whole purpose of me running this without pets first was to allow for biofilm to grow so that our snails would have something to eat when I added them to the tank. So there was nobody, there were no pets in here now. I stuttered a little bit. But there were no pets in here just yet. I think there is a single scud that you might see scooting around who snuck in here. But yeah, I was waiting to add snails because I wanted to get some biofilm to grow in here first. We lost all of the biofilm that was on the inside of that jar, but we kept everything that was on the wood and the stones and the seashell. Seashell. You still hear my little speech thing going on here and there. But yeah, so here's our old tank. This was the it was the Moss Tree Nano Aquarium. That's what it was called. And it was meant to be beautiful, and it was for a long time until those drain flies got in here. My bright idea to run the tank with no lid didn't work out. Somehow, a few of our snails are still in here. They're still alive, and I'm surprised that the drain flies haven't killed them. But if you look closely, you'll see that none of these snails are full grown. These guys are all very small. They're all very young. And yeah, it kind of breaks my heart. This particular family of bladder snails, they're all important to me, but I put these guys in this little world. And because it crashed because of me, and that's it's hard to deal with. I love my little pets. I want their worlds to be nice. Yeah, there's one of those evil drain flies right now. I hate those guys so much. Um, I've installed a number of biological control mechanisms. I have spiders in here, you guys. I am cultivating spiders now in a few of the jar aquariums. I don't know if you'd like to see that. You should leave a comment. But I'm raising spiders. I have some frogs in here as well. I have a few trap aquariums where the ostracods eat the drain flies. Yeah, I'm up to no good when it comes to the arms race against those things. I did throw in a couple loose pothos leaves in here that I removed from the stems over time. I was hoping the bladder snails would get on those leaves, and they did. So it made it a little easier to catch them. It's very, very hard to catch tiny bladder snails and move them to a new aquarium. That's why I used my tiny shovel. And yeah, they seem to be adapting well. One upside to them being very small and very young is they are a bit more adjustable or adaptable when you put them in a new tank. Sometimes your older, more mature bladder snails they'll die of shock and stress when you put them in a new aquarium. I don't really transition them like you should. I don't, let them equalize temperature or anything. All these tanks are in the same room, so they're all pretty much the same temperature. I don't run any heaters in my projects. Instead, I just heat the room if I need to. So right now it's like 100 degrees outside every day, so I don't need a heater. It's actually very warm in here. I am going to add some fish flakes because we did lose a bunch of biofilm in there, and the snails will need food. Biofilm is algae and bacteria and microbes that grow on all the surfaces inside of an aquarium. Inside of every aquarium, I should say. So day 6, I have a cool idea, you guys. I grabbed some little tomatoes from my dad's garden, and we're going to feed them right to the tanks. I've never fed them a tomato before. These guys in, I don't know, 1,000 generations, they've never seen a tomato. So I'm curious how they react. It looks kind of like a shrimp or something, which is cool. I did squish it before I threw it in there. Yeah. And it landed right on that seashell, which is kind of like a plate or a cup. You will see a ton of our recently added snails down here. They've been in here for about a day or day and a half. But yeah, they like the seashell, and that's because it's covered in biofilm from the guppy tank, but it's also a source of calcium. So they're chewing little bits of calcium off of that shell. I'm curious if the snails will notice that tomato sitting there and if they will feed on it. It's a big experiment for me. Like I said before, every project I do is kind of a multi-layered experiment, and I really have to stop myself from overdoing that, testing 6 or 7 different ideas in one jar. If something goes wrong, what caused it? Was it one of the 5 or 6 experiments I had running in that jar? Probably. Which one was it? I don't know. So I'm trying not to do that so much anymore, you guys. But the tomato looks cool in there, and I like that it did sink right away. If they feed on it, if they enjoy it, then we might try more tomatoes in the future. All right, so we'll come back in about 1 hour. And here we are. Yeah, check it out. We do have some attention on the tomato. These guys are snails, and it can take them a little while to track down a food source like this. That's why I squished it to get their attention. And it seems to be working. Yes, they are definitely migrating towards the tomato. They're hanging around on top of it, underneath it, and even though the angle's bad, I'm willing to bet somebody's over there chewing on the guts of the tomato right now. This should act as a decent food source. If I have to remove the skin of the tomato in the future, I will. But I know for sure that they were not exposed to any pesticide or poisons or anything. Just water and soil and sunlight, all the good stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy with the jar, you guys. I'm happy to see that our snails are seemingly about to feed on some tomato. Yeah, they're definitely interested. We have some nice root growth on our spiderwort here. Keep in mind, it's been less than 1 week since I put a bare stem into this project, and it's grown this crazy root structure. Yeah. Unfortunately, that growth did not translate over to the pothos. You can kind of see the stem up there at the top. It has these little nubs on it. Not not the excessive accelerated root growth I was hoping for. And I may be making a mistake by having the pothos stem down in the water like this. I think I'm meant to suspend it just above the water. Yeah, I don't know. You guys should totally comment on the proper way to grow pothos in a bucket ponds jar aquarium. I need your help. But anyway, guys, here's the tank. It's beautiful. I believe that we've successfully rescued at least the life forms who still survived in that previous aquarium. Really sad when one of our projects crashes like that. And I really hate those drain flies, you guys. I just can't help it. I wasn't joking either. I am deploying an army of spiders. I'm breeding spiders. It sounds so weird to say. But I have a certain species of spider who likes to live in my jar aquariums specifically. Let's get a clip of them here. And you can see her right now. She's had a few egg sacs for me, and we have colonized a couple of the jars. I'm still working on this as a control method. I worry that she might eat bladder snails. I haven't seen that happen, but it's possible, I guess. So who knows? Big thank you to our YouTube members and Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Forgive me for removing the credits from the videos. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of making me like nervous. You know, like every time I'd make a video, I'd have to stop and make sure I had everybody's name, and like I was getting neurotic about it. But a few of you said that, you support the channel because you want to, not for a shout out. So thank you so much. Big thank you to everyone watching. I am so happy to be here. I am happy to be Bucket Ponds and to host this show for you. Thank you for being part of it. If you'd like to join the Bucket Pond family, all you have to do is hit subscribe and say hi. Introduce yourself in the comments. Thank you. All right, guys, that was episode 5 of Eco Sundays with me, Bucket Ponds. Thank you for watching. I am very happy to present this show, and I'm having a lot of fun. There's a new episode every Sunday, and I think that you'll love what I have in store for the future. So drop a comment, say hi, and I'll see you next time.